So the stomach has several types of cells, and these cells have some secretory functions. Take, for instance, the parietal cells. The parietal cells secrete hydrochloric acid, and this lowers the pH of the stomach. It also aids in food digestion. The parietal cell also secretes intrinsic factor. And like I said, this intrinsic factor is necessary for vitamin B12 absorption. We also have chief cells in the stomach, and these chief cells produce pepsinogen. The pepsinogen is not an active enzyme, but it is converted to pepsin by the hydrochloric acid that is produced by the parietal cells. And what pepsin does is to digest proteins. Remember that I told you that the digestion of proteins begins in the stomach. The stomach also have mucus cells, and this secrete mucus, what they do is to just protect the stomach lining from the acid that is produced by the parietal cells. Then there are enteroendocrine cells that produce the hormone gastrin, and this gastrin regulates the HCl secretion. Don't worry about the stem cells, you don't need the stem cells. So the G cells produce and release gastrin, and this gastrin stimulates the production of acid by the parietal cells. Then the D cells secrete somatostatin, and somatostatin inhibits the release of gastrin, and this decreases stomach acid production. So let's move to the small intestine. The small intestine is continuous with the stomach at the pyloric sphincter, and it leads to the large intestine at the ileocecal valve. The small intestine lies in the abdominal cavity and is surrounded by the large intestine. So if you see, take a look at the picture here. You will see that this is the small intestine, okay, and it's surrounded by the large intestine here, surrounded by the large intestine. Okay, so now there are three sections of the small intestine. The first part is called the duodenum, the second part is the jejunum, and the last part is the ileum. The duodenum is 25 centimeters long. It is not very long, unlike the jejunum and the ileum, which are 2 meters, 3 meters. Note the differences in the centimeter and meter. So the duodenum is where the bile and pancreatic juices enter. The bile is released by the biliary duct, okay? So the jejunum is the middle section, and it's approximately 2 meters long, while the ileum is the final section. It is approximately 3 meters long, and it leads to the ileocecal valve that leads to the large intestine. Okay, all right, so now this is the stomach. Then the pyloric sphincter is here. You know, we said the anterior part of the stomach is covered by the liver. So that's why you are seeing the liver in front, okay? This is the liver. Now, this is the stomach. There is the pyloric sphincter here. Then it now continues as the duodenum, okay? Then the middle part, this is the ileum. Then this is the jejunum, okay? Sorry, yeah, this is the ileum, and this is our jejunum, okay? So let's see the structures and features of the small intestine. Now, the inner surface of this small intestine has the villi and microvilli. These are finger-like, and what they do is to increase the surface area for absorption. So majorly, absorption takes place in the small intestine. When you eat, absorption takes place in the small intestine. Now the villi, they have finger-like projections containing blood capillaries and lymph vessels. These lymph vessels in the villi of the small intestine are called lacteals. Then there are also glands in the small intestine, and they produce digestive enzymes. Functions. Chemical digestion also takes place in the small intestine. Carbohydrates are broken down by amylase into disaccharides and further into monosaccharides. You know, carbohydrate is a big molecule, okay? So it's broken down to disaccharides. Disaccharide means two sugar molecules, while monosaccharide means one sugar molecule. Now, proteins in the small intestine are broken down by proteases into peptides and then amino acids. Then fats, they are emulsified by bile and digested by lipase into fatty acids and glycerol. Please take note that all these things we are mentioning, the digestion of protein, the end product will give us monosaccharide. For example, glucose is a monosaccharide. The digestion of protein, the end product will give us amino acids. Okay? While the digestion of fat, the end product will give us fatty acids and glycerol. Then these nutrients are then absorbed through the mucosa into the blood and lymphatic vessel. So let's see what, like the stomach too, what does the intestine, the small intestine produce? We have some secretions. Now, the pancreatic juice, it contains water, bicarbonate, enzymes, amylase, lipase, proteases. Amylase, please do not forget, digests carbohydrates. Lipase from lipids, digests fat and oil. You know, when we say lipids, it comprises of fat and oil. So lipase digests lipids, fat and oil, while proteases digest proteins. So we also have the bile. The bile is produced by the liver. It is stored in the gallbladder, and the essence of the bile is to aid in fat digestion. It helps in fat digestion. Then we also have intestinal juice. The intestinal juice is slightly alkaline, and it helps in the final stages of nutrient digestion. Please note, the pH of the stomach is around 1.2 to 2.0. Is acidic because of the production of hydrochloric acid by the parietal cells. And you will also know that when you have ulcer and use proton pump inhibitors, it works on the parietal cells to reduce the production of hydrochloric acid. Now, but the small intestine is slightly alkaline in nature with a pH of maybe 5.5 to 6 point something. So it's slightly alkaline in nature. Well, we don't need the blood supply. Then the absorption of nutrients take place in the small intestine. That's all you need to know. And the absorption takes place through enterocytes into the bloodstream or the lymphatic system. Now, hormones like secretin and CCK, cholecystokinin, they regulate the secretion of digestive juices. Okay. We skip all this because I really don't know. I really don't think you need them. Okay, but let's now, the mucus of the small intestine contains lymphoid follicles. They are also known as Peyer's patches, and they play a role in immune defense. So the large intestine is about 1.5 meters long, and it has a lumen diameter. The lumen is the inside of the tube. It has a lumen diameter of about 6.5 centimeters. So it is larger than the small intestine that we said is 2.5 centimeter in diameter. You still remember this? Okay. So and it also forms an arch around the small intestine. Unlike the small intestine that is divided into three, duodenum, jejunum, and ileum, the large intestine is divided into the cecum, the colon, the rectum, and the anal canal. So here is a diagrammatic representation. This is the ascending colon, okay? And this is the descending colon. This is the sigmoid colon. And this is the rectum, okay? So the sections of the large intestine, we have the cecum. The cecum is the first part of the large intestine. So the cecum is the first part of the large intestine, and it is located in the right iliac fossa. It has a blind end and is continuous with the ascending colon superiorly. It also contains this is the cecum. It also contains the vermiform appendix. The colon is divided into four parts. We have the ascending colon, transverse colon. This is the ascending colon. This is the transverse colon. We have the descending colon and the sigmoid colon. The sigmoid colon is close to the rectum. Okay. Now the ascending colon moves upwards from the cecum to the liver. The transverse colon crosses the abdominal cavity, while the descending colon moves down the left side of the abdomen. Sigmoid colon is S-shaped in the pelvis. So the rectum is slightly dilated section and is about 13 centimeters long. It leads from the sigmoid colon to the anal canal. While the anal canal is a short passage and it's about 3.8 centimeters long. It contains two sphincters, the inner and external, controlling the passage of feces. So let's talk about the structures and features of the large intestine. We have the muscle layers, the longitudinal muscle layer. Well, for now, I don't think, let's keep this structure. It's not very important. Okay? Although you must also know that the rectum has a mucus layer that has large number of goblet cells for production of mucus. But we can skip all these. They are not necessary. Let me even move them out of the notes. They're not necessary for your exams. So functions of the large intestine. The large intestine is also for absorption. It absorbs water and electrolyte from the intestinal content. It absorbs vitamins produced by gut bacteria. Then some microbial activities take place in the large intestine. It houses commensal bacteria, meaning these bacteria are there, they are not harmful, okay? But they are deriving benefit from the human body, and the human too is deriving benefit from their presence. So what these bacteria do is that they break down undigested carbohydrates, and they also produce gas, and short chain fatty acid. Defecation. It's the mass movement of feces into the rectum. Now, defecation reflex involves both voluntary and involuntary muscle contractions. Take for instance, when you are pressed, sometimes you can control your feces until you get to a destination where you can poo. Okay, but if you have diarrhea, you may not be able to hold it for too long, and if you do not get a convenience, you might poo on your body. So that's why the defecation reflex is also controlled, involves voluntary and involuntary control. Even if you don't have diarrhea, there's a limit to which you can hold your poo. Okay. So, what are the contents of the feces? The feces consist of water, bacteria, undigested dietary fiber, cells shed from the mucosa, and waste products. Now, formation. The rectum stores feces before elimination, and feces are compacted into a semi-solid mass. It's not supposed to be watery. Now, we have talked about the major organs of digestion. Let's now pick the accessory organs. One of the accessory organs is the pancreas. Okay, pancreas is one of the accessory organs of digestion, and it's a creamy pink gland. It's about 12 to 15 centimeter long, and it weighs about 60 grams. The length is just for information. You may not necessarily cram the length of these organs we have been mentioned. They may really not ask you, okay? So the pancreas is located in the epigastric and left hypochondriac regions of the abdominal cavity, the left side. It has a broad head, a body, and narrow tail. The head of the pancreas lies in the curve of the duodenum, the first part of the small intestine, and the body is behind the stomach, and the tail is in front of the left kidney. So this pancreas has both exocrine and endocrine functions. So let's talk about the exocrine pancreas. The exocrine pancreas, of course, when we say something is exocrine, it means that it secretes, but not directly into the bloodstream. It secretes into duct. Okay, so the exocrine pancreas, what are the secretions? We have pancreatic juice, and this is produced by the acina cells. And this pancreatic juice contains enzymes such as amylase, lipase, and proteases that are for digestion of carbohydrate, fat, and proteins, respectively. Now, the duct that the exocrine pancreas secretes into, it extends, we call it pancreatic duct, and it extends along the whole length of the gland. It opens into the duodenum. So, in the small intestine, we said carbohydrate, fat, and proteins are digested. But the juice that digests them is produced by the pancreas, and it is released via the pancreatic duct that opens into the duodenum. So that's the mechanism. Okay. The release of pancreatic juice into the duodenum is controlled by the hepatopancreatic sphincter of Oddi, okay, at the duodenal papilla. You don't need the regulation of this secretion. Nobody will ask you. It's beyond the scope of your study. So, but note that the pancreatic juice that contains amylase, lipase, protease for the digestion in the small intestine are produced by the pancreas, of course, from the name. Now, the endocrine pancreas. The endocrine pancreas consists of clusters of specialized cells called the islet of Langerhans, and they are distributed throughout the gland. Of course, these ones produce hormones. Okay. So the islet secrete insulin and glucagon. It also secrete other things anyway, not just the insulin and glucagon alone. And they are directly released into the bloodstream and play a crucial role in blood glucose regulation. Take, for instance, insulin is produced by the beta cells, while the alpha cells produce glucagon. Insulin lowers blood glucose level, while glucagon raises blood glucose levels. So the endocrine portion of the pancreas has clusters of, like we have said, that the alpha cell produces glucagon and the beta cell produces insulin. The liver. The liver is the largest gland in the body, okay? And it is weighing about 1 and 2.3 kilograms. It is a reddish brown gland or organ and is situated in the upper part of the abdominal cavity, occupying most of the right hypochondriac and part of the epigastric regions. It extends to the left, though, of the hypochondriac region, but majorly it's in the right hypochondriac region. You see, you must know all these hypochondriac regions. You must just know that, oh, the liver is more in the left, in the right hypochondriac region. The stomach is more in the left hypochondriac region. The liver is involved in numerous vital functions, including metabolism, detoxification. Oh, I skipped this. The liver has four lobes. We have the right, the left, the caudate, and the quadrate. So it performs several vital functions, including metabolism, detoxification, synthesis of proteins, and production of bile. We really don't need the blood supply. You may not be asked. Okay. So the liver cells are known as hepatocytes, and the hepatocytes are the functional units of the liver as an organ. Okay. So the liver is made up of functional units called lobes. Each lobule is a hexagonal arrangement of hepatocytes surrounding a central vein. We also have sinusoids. Blood from the hepatic artery and portal vein flows through sinusoids. They are capillary-like vessels between hepatocytes, and they facilitate exchange of substances. So the bicanaliculi, small duct between hepatocytes, collect bile, which flows into larger bile duct. So metabolic functions, carbohydrate metabolism. The liver maintains blood glucose levels by storing glucose as glycogen. This process is called glycogenesis. So, and it can also break it down when needed. Glycogenolysis or genolysis. It also performs gluconeogenesis. So you must know that the liver stores nutrients. Okay, fat metabolism. The liver also converts excess carbohydrates, proteins into fatty acids and triglycerides, and it also synthesizes cholesterol and lipoprotein. So that's why if you eat in excess of what you should eat, you get fat. Okay. Protein metabolism. The liver deaminate amino acid to form urea, and it synthesizes plasma proteins and convert amino acids into other compounds. So the liver detoxifies substances such as alcohol, and that's why alcohol can damage the liver when it is in excess. It also detoxifies drugs. Okay. Then the liver metabolizes hormones and break down hemoglobin from old red blood cells. The liver also stores vitamin A, D, K, and B12, and minerals like iron and copper. ADK, they are fat-soluble vitamins, and that's why they are stored. When they are in excess, the liver stores them. That's why overdosage of these vitamins can cause health issues. So let's quickly wrap up on bile production and secretion. Composition of bile. The bile consists of water, bile salt, bile pigments, known as bilirubin, cholesterol, and electrolyte. Function of bile. Bile emulsifies fat in the small intestine, so they aid in their digestion and absorption. And bile also carries waste products for excretion. Now, bilirubin is a byproduct of hemoglobin breakdown, and it is excreted as bile. Kupffer cells, they are macrophages in the liver sinusoids. And what they do is that they phagocytize old red blood cells, bacteria, and other debris. The liver also plays a role in immune response and produce acute phase proteins during infection. Okay. So what are the additional effects of the liver? The liver generates heat as a byproduct of its high metabolic activity. So it also helps with thermoregulation. Thermo means heat, regulation means regulation. Okay. So the liver also synthesizes hormones. The liver produces and metabolizes various hormones, including the insulin-like growth factors. So we have what we call biliary tract. This biliary tract is the route taken by bile, okay, that has been produced from the breakdown of hemoglobin from the liver to the gallbladder and then to the duodenum. Okay. So bile is produced from the breakdown of hemoglobin, then it moves from the liver to the gallbladder. This part that it takes then to the duodenum, this part that it takes from the liver to gallbladder to duodenum is what we call biliary tract. So bile duct, we said we have the bile duct. It opens into the duodenum. So the right and left hepatic duct, well, you don't need this. So let's just see the pathway that bile follows. Bile flows from the liver through the hepatic duct into the common hepatic duct, then into the cystic duct to be stored in the gallbladder. When needed, bile is expelled from the gallbladder through the cystic duct into the common bile duct and into the duodenum. So that's the part through which bile moves. So let's discuss the gallbladder. Is a pear-shaped sac and is just attached to the posterior surface of the liver. So what's the function of the gallbladder? The function of the gallbladder is the storage of bile in the gallbladder and the release of the bile when needed. Okay, so then it also concentrates bile by absorbing water. When the muscle wall of the gallbladder contracts, bile is expelled into the bile duct and enters the duodenum. The contraction of this gallbladder is stimulated by cholecystokinin, CCK, which is secreted by the duodenum in response to the presence of fat and chyme. Relaxation of the hepatopancreatic sphincter of body allows bile to enter the duodenum. So with this, we have come to the end of the digestive system. Let's just take a quick summary of how these nutrients, of how these classes of food are digested. Carbohydrate. The digestion starts in the mouth by salivary amylase, and the digest starts to disaccharides. Then the digestion continues in the stomach. The hydrochloric acid in the stomach stops the action of salivary amylase. Okay. Then in the small intestine, pancreatic amylase further now digests starches into disaccharides and monosaccharides, mainly glucose. So it is also absorbed in the small intestine into the bloodstream. Proteins, the digestion of the proteins, you see that it does not start in the mouth, it starts in the stomach. So what happens? The parietal cells produce hydrochloric acid, which helps to break down pepsinogen into pepsin. Pepsin now digests proteins to polypeptides. Okay. Then in the small intestine too, there are enterokinases in the enterocytes, chymotrypsinogen and trypsinogen from pancreas. Enterokinase in the enterocyte converts chymotrypsinogen and trypsinogen from pancreas to chymotrypsin and trypsin. Now, this chymotrypsin and trypsin now breaks down polypeptides into di and tripeptides. Then peptidases too in the enterocytes now breaks down di and tripeptides to amino acids. Then the amino acids that are then absorbed in the small intestine. The digestion of fats, it skips mouth, skips stomach, starts in the small intestine, and bile is needed for this. Bile is made in the liver from the breakdown of hemoglobin. Then it moves via the bile duct into the gallbladder where it is stored. So when fat gets into the small intestine, cholecystokinin enhances the release of bile from the gallbladder. Okay, so bile from liver emulsify fats, then pancreatic lipase now convert fat into fatty acid and glycerol. So that's what we have. Then they are absorbed into lacteals of the villi. These lacteals are lymphatic vessels in the small intestine. Water, when we drink water, small amount is absorbed in the stomach. Then most of the water we drink is absorbed in the small intestine. Then the remainder is absorbed in the large intestine. For vitamins, for vitamin B12, intrinsic factor ensures the absorption of vitamin B12 in the stomach. Water-soluble vitamins are absorbed into capillaries, while fat-soluble vitamins are absorbed into lacteals. Then bacteria synthesize vitamin K in colon, and it is also absorbed here. With this, we have come to the end of the digestive system anatomy.